The headliner of the weekend, the Clippers, having acquired Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, and Bones Highland, and playing their best basketball of the season, after much public lobbying by essentially all their players, dipped their toe into the Russell Westbrook pool and have agreed to terms or agreed to sign Russell Westbrook once he's bought out, clears waivers, etc. You have a piece about it up today. You quote Lawrence Frank in the piece describing the kind of point guard the Clippers might want. This was a quote that he had after the trade deadline and before acquiring Russell Westbrook. Invariably, what's important is whether they're a point guard or not, we need someone that won't be played off the floor defensively, someone who can share the ball responsibilities, but not yet be so ball dominant. The ball is going to be in Kawhi and PG's hands about 60% of the time, so it's a delicate balance. And then they signed Russell Westbrook. I am frankly in shock that they did this. I don't think it will work. I understand the theoretical argument for it, which is we play slow. We don't get to the rim. Well, Russ plays fast and he gets to the rim and he'll spray the ball out to our shooters. We're a great shooting team that probably hasn't generated enough threes this year. He has an edge. Plays with edge. We don't play with a lot of edge, probably because our guys don't play all that many games. We don't play with he'll bring an edge. He's mean. He makes mean faces. He rocks the baby every single time he posts somebody up. He gives us an edge. There is an irony, I think, to the team that has most devalued the regular season over the last 4 years. Just so we don't care about the regular season, wake us up in the playoffs. With 25 games to go, plopping this grenade, one of the more unique pieces in the NBA, with 25 games left, is like, we got to learn how to play with this new thing, which, again, I get the theoretical argument for it. The other argument is, well, if we go 5 out, right? Like, we built this team before acquiring Mason Plumlee to play at least some minutes of every game with 5 shooters. That's really where Russ thrives, because if there's one other non-shooter on the floor, it just gets very, very hard to have the ball in anybody else's hands, because no one is going to guard Russ off the ball. And then you throw a Zubats or a Plumlee, the spacing isn't going to be there. And so if they're going to play 5 out, that could work. That I could see working. I just don't get why you would acquire Mason Plumlee to back up Ivica Zubats if that's still going to be a huge part of your team. But maybe it's not like Mason Plumlee's that good, so maybe that's the reason why. I just think the chaos factor of integrating him, the complete lack of shooting from anywhere. Forget the perimeter shooting. He shoots 50% of the rim now. And you can sit here and give me the numbers, the raw numbers. Like, look at his assists. Look at the rebounds. It's like the assists and the rim attacks. First of all, the Clippers are not that bad at getting to the rim. They're like 22nd in percentage of shots that come at the rim. They're not like horrible at getting to the rim. They're plus 12 per 100 possessions with Kawhi and Paul George on the floor. That's going fine. And all of those assists and rim shots come at the expense of the overall bad spacing, which just infects every possession, turnovers, 4 per 36 minutes. And all those misses at the rim are fast breaks for the other team, which people just don't put those puzzle pieces together. I just hate the fit. I don't hate the fit, because if they go 5 out, it can work. I don't like the fit. I don't understand why they did this. I don't think they really even needed to do it. Can you please explain this to me? Because I'm just like flabbergasted that they've taken this step. Is this just explain?
Zach, you know how the NBA works and how stars always feel, and head coaches as well. When there's talent out there, they always feel like they can add talent to this team and make it work. No matter how bad it went in the last place, it'll stop before that or anything like that, they will always look to add talent. They always think about the player's whole career and not like, what have you done for me lately? They're not in that Janet Jackson mode. These guys look at Russell Westbrook as the former MVP candidate who averages triple doubles, who can do this and that, bring the intensity, the juice. I will say this, his personality will probably can help and hurt. I do think there are times when they absolutely need this like aggression and angry type of play, because you just don't get any emotion from Kawhi and really Paul George and and that trickles down to the rest of the team. But I do also wonder, look, all the things the Clippers complained about with John Wall. He sometimes takes poor shot selection and these spot up threes. They don't mind when he was doing catch and shoot threes or maybe in mid-range shots, but it was the pull-up threes that drove them crazy. The bad turnovers because John was playing so aggressive and trying to make something happen. And also defensively, John Wall getting exposed defensively, having only played 40 games in 3 years, and then all of a sudden, guys picking on him, not being able to move. Well, Russell Westbrook does all three of those things at a much magnified level, sometimes even worse. It's going to drive them crazy. But from what I was told, look, Lawrence Frank, when he gave us that quote, it was almost like he didn't say Russell Westbrook's name, but he almost was telling us, like, we're not going to go after Russell Westbrook.
I would, if this fails, and I would bet on it failing, and almost in its failure, you would get the blueprint for why it's not that bad. Like the Lakers needed Russ. They were going to play him regardless. The Clippers don't need him. If it doesn't work, they just don't have to play him. They just acquired 2 guards at the trade deadline, including a guy in Eric Gordon, who they viewed as like a hand in glove fit for how they want to play. So if it fails, I think almost the best argument for it is if it fails, you just wash your hands of it, no harm, no foul, and he just gets angry on the bench or whatever. But if it fails, I will be very interested to see the stories that come out at ESPN, at The Athletic, and everywhere behind the scenes, the Clippers' decision to sign Russell Westbrook, because fingers will be pointed and knives will be out.
Yeah. Look, Zach, I think they after the trade deadline, they met with Kawhi, they met with Paul, they met with Ty and the coaching staff, and they said, what do we need going into the playoffs? And those guys said, we can use another veteran point guard. We need a guy who does some of the things John Wall did, get to the rim, push the tempo, another guy who can handle the ball and get us in the right spots. And so obviously Paul wants Russ because Paul played with Russ, had his best season with Russ, was an MVP candidate. I think Kawhi looks like, look, let's add more talent. Why not? But you're right, Zach, you can see a situation here where if the Clippers are bounced in the first or second round and it's in a bad fashion or bad manner, there are going to be guys in that, you can see guys maybe trying to save their jobs. You know what I mean? And so somebody can say, look, we got you, Russ. We got you, Russ, and it didn't work out. This is what you guys wanted. They could use that. It could end very badly. And I think what the Clippers are saying is Russell knows coming in, and the Clippers know, they're all on the same page, that he's not coming in to be the third star. It's not like with the Lakers, who, I think also the Clippers probably feel like the Lakers misused him and didn't have the right pieces around him. And a lot of Clipper players felt like Russ was made to be the scapegoat. They feel that this is a better fit for him. They have more shooters. They have guys that can run with him. But I still see a situation where Ty Lue ends up finishing games with Eric Gordon on the floor, with Paul George, and it's a small sample size, and Kawhi Leonard, but I think he likes that so far. We've seen kind of Eric Gordon kind of finish that because he can defend, he can shoot and spread the floor for those guys, and he can do a little point.
Yeah, I already was on record after the trade deadline on this podcast and elsewhere. I wouldn't have touched him with 10-foot pole if I were the Clippers. I would be a total stay away mode. They obviously disagreed, and that creates some great theater, by the way, because the consensus is that this is a bad move. And there's a sort of prove everyone wrong quality to this for Russ, for Ty Lue, for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, for whoever backed this. It's like, okay, let's see if it works. And if it works, they absolutely get to crow in my face and everyone else's face who said this was a dumb move for them.
It comes at an interesting time, Zach. They've won 10 of 14 games.
They're playing well.
Terrence Mann, as a starting point guard, the last 21 games, starting to feel more and more comfortable. Yes, there are times when he still needs to recognize, like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to attack my guy instead of moving the ball and spreading around. And I think he's starting to feel that. But Ty Lue views him as a small forward, not really a point guard. And as you see, Terrence Mann doesn't finish a lot of games. How do you feel about this, Zach, from a basketball standpoint? If Russell Westbrook is setting screens for Paul George and
Oh,
Kawhi Leonard, and he's the role guy. How do you feel about that?
Stop. How do I feel about that? I feel the same way I felt for 10 years when everyone's like, if Russ just set screens and played, it was Draymond Green. And to Russ's credit, in the last 2 seasons, he has set career highs for total ball screens set. Do you want to hear what those career highs are? In 2021-22, Russell Westbrook set 56 ball screens. 56. That was a career high. 56. My math isn't awesome, but that's less than 1 a game. Throw it in the garbage. In this current season, Russ has broken that career high and set 72 ball screens, over 1 per game. He doesn't want to do it. There is no evidence that he will ever do it in a meaningful volume. But yes, the way to use Russell Westbrook is with 4 shooters around him. The Clippers can provide that as a screener for apex wing ball handlers who can turn the corner, hit him on the short roll, punish switches. The Clippers have that. So sure, if he's willing to do those things and minimize all the other damaging stuff, the turnovers, the bad shots, yeah, there's a world where he can play with those guys. If he's not willing to do those things, and Kawhi and PG have the ball 60% of the time, like Lawrence Frank said, and one of their centers is on the floor, it's not going to work. There's no evidence to suggest it will work. And so I don't think it's going to work. But look, I got nothing. I really did not. I said, I don't think the Clippers will do it. I said on TV, I look like I was wrong. I was clearly wrong. I'm shocked. I'm still shocked. I can't believe they did it.
Power of the players, Zach, and I think also Ty Lue, I think he thinks he can fit this guy into his system and make it work. And so the bottom line is I think you always want as much talent as possible going into the playoffs. And they have 21 games and a ton of practice time, Zach, to see if it works.
The team that doesn't care about the regular season, doesn't care about practice, has 21 games to integrate Russell Westbrook. And by the way, 3 other guys they just traded for.
That is one thing that Russ brings that is also another Clipper weakness. Availability. Russ is always available.
About the games?
Look, Russ is always available.
None of this is
listen, in those small lineups they do have problems rebounding. Maybe Russ also helps with that too.
I have said already, if you play him in their 5-out lineups, it can work. It can work in very limited minutes. And if everyone plays the right way and the world doesn't tilt off its axis, it can work. And none of this is, do not get me started on, everyone's denigrating Russ, to slander Russ. I was a top 75 NBA voter. I was one of the voters. I had Russ in my top 75. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. None of this is about what he has accomplished. The last 2 seasons, he has not been nearly that player. And that's the guy the Clippers are getting. And I just don't like it. And the proof will be in the proverbial pudding of the last 20 whatever games that the Clippers have. And then if they make the playoffs, assuming they do the playoffs, and Ohm, you will be there to chronicle it all. Please enjoy Hawaii. I'm jealous. I hate you. One of the top 5 reasons for living in Southern California is that Hawaii is a relatively close flight compared to, I might as well live on Mars. I can't get there. So
you can go to the Caribbean.
I can. We have that.
Short flight from Aruba.
And we can go to Disney World. And boy, guys, I think I'm going to have to do the Disney podcast. And now we got to switch over to our buddy, Kendrick Perkins. Thank you, Om.